Chapter 11. Sam sputtered and a fierce heat filled her entire face. Jazz just kept grinning at her. What a cheeky little shit. She resisted the urge to turn and walk away from him. Sam still wanted to see the base after all, and she didn't exactly want to stay cooped up in the medbay with an angry Ratchet either. He seems nice. It took Sam several moments of steaming in silence to settle on those words. Jazz's grin grew a little wider, reminding Sam of a shark. Nice, huh? Nice to look at? He teased. Jazz! Sam slapped his shoulder, the sound of metal on metal echoing through the hallway. Horror replaced embarrassment. Had she hurt him? All right. Jazz burst into laughter, unbothered, and Sam relaxed a little. He seemed okay. The fluster came back in full force. She would have to be more careful. Jazz made her too comfortable, and it was going to get her in trouble or exposed. The thought led to a small panic. Would someone else outside of Ratchet suspect? Would she get caught? Sam's stomach twisted up in knots as she found herself easily distracted from the thought of Optimus. Blue Streak and her safety came first. Jazz's laughter continued for a few moments, before dying down into schoolgirl-level giggles. Sam rolled her eyes, trying not to let him get under her skin. Stupid short asshole. Ha! Seriously though, Jazz shook his head. Good luck on trying to get his attention. Everyone wants it, but nobody can get it. Not even his officers. He snorted in amusement. I figured. Sam wasn't dumb. With a war going on and having his hands full, she doubted romance was on his mind, let alone one femma he barely knew. It's alright. Maybe after we win. Jazz patted Sam's upper arm, confidence in his voice and expression. There was no doubt in his mind that they would come out on top. Somehow, Sam couldn't share his confidence. The image of the corpses littering the street, of the one shielding Blue Streak when she found him, was seared into her mind. Not to mention the destruction of the world Sam now found herself in. It looked like they might be on the losing side, as much as she hated to think about it like that. Hey, it's gonna be alright. Jazz nudged her, bringing Sam back out of her thoughts. Come on, we're almost to the gardens. You're gonna love them. Clearly, he knew along the lines of what she was thinking. Sam couldn't help but feel grateful, even if he was acting like an ass earlier. He was right about being close to their destination, though. It was only a few seconds longer before Jazz was leading her up to an arching glass set of double doors edged with what looked like silver. It was absolutely beautiful, but it didn't even compare to the gorgeous insides. They stepped up to the doors and they slid open smoothly, as though welcoming them to this exotic place. Sam was breathless, absolutely taken aback. Looking at the gardens through the glass just didn't do them justice. A white, stone-style pathway started at the entrance of the doors and went winding out of sight throughout the garden. Jazz gently tugged Sam onto it, but she didn't notice too much, too enthralled with her surroundings. It reminded her of the church she had hidden in before, elegant and beautiful. This planet had more to offer than just war. The garden all but wiped the thoughts and memories of the war from Sam's mind. On either side of the stone-like path were large garden beds. These were walled in by metal, and the dirt on the inside looked almost like actual dirt. Something told Sam that it wasn't. For one, a deep breath told her it smelled like rust, which was weird given she didn't smell like she used to. The sense was completely different now, though Sam couldn't explain why or how exactly. It was just weird. It didn't stop there. The garden beds were filled with the most alien, beautiful plants Sam had ever seen. Most of them were large, crystalline plants, and a few were metallic. Both kinds came in more colors than Sam knew existed in the spectrum, and they glimmered and shimmered in more ways than she had ever seen with water, mirrors, or light. It made her want to reach out and cradle the sparkles in her palm, as if Sam could just take some of the offshoots of color and keep it in her pocket. If she had a pocket still. Sam barely noticed Jazz pulling them along the path leisurely. She was too busy still trying to take in all the colors and shapes going on in the garden beds. The large crystals growing out of the rust came in so many shapes and sizes it was difficult to even see them all. It just added to the busy, artistic craziness going on inside the garden beds. Then, from within each cluster of crystals, something almost resembling a flower stemmed up from the middle and bloomed outwards. They reminded Sam of the flowers from Earth, and yet not quite. These flowers came in so many colors and shapes, so many different petal types and more, not to mention the fact that they were made out of metal and crystal. Sam was pretty sure she could stare for hours and still miss something. "Hey, check it out." Jazz nudged Sam, pulling her attention painfully from the gorgeous crystal flower beds. It was worth it, though. It seemed the flowers and crystals weren't the only things the garden had to offer. The far, curving wall and the curled-up overhead ceiling were made of glass. That wasn't all, though. It seemed like it was paired with some kind of telescope technology or magnification. This led to one of the moons being huge against the windows, illuminating the entire garden with almost day-like lunar light. It was breathtaking, just another piece of this alien world that Sam found herself absorbed into. This moon, now that she could see one of them up close, was made out of metal, not rock. Nothing like the Earth's moon. It wasn't solid metal, though, not like a solid rock. No, it was as if it were a construct itself. Almost like a smaller version of the planet Sam was on, minus all the huge visible buildings. There were holes and giant gear pieces, appearing as if the moon were made of layers upon layers of metal, with the possibility of endless underground areas. A bright, blue glow softly pulsed from the core of the small heavenly body, just like the sea of light Sam had almost fallen into. The stars that framed the moon were, by comparison, washed out. "Isn't it beautiful?" Jazz chuckled. "This is a favorite place of many to come and relax." "I love it," Sam breathed. "I didn't think there was anything like this here." "Yeah, I hear that a lot. A lot of people forget how things used to be," Jazz nodded. "The war took everything, even our good memories, it seems like." Sam tried not to sweat under the pressure of that statement. What if he found out she had no memories whatsoever of what used to be? She hadn't been here before the war. Sam had, at most, spent just under a week in this new environment. It still felt so surreal, and at times, she felt like she was only dreaming. Jazz tugged on her gently again. "Over here is something else I think you'll like." There was so much joy to his voice, it just added a layer of guilt over everything else. He and Sunstreaker had both shown her something so personal and vulnerable about themselves, thinking it would help her as it did them. It didn't. Not only did it not, but she was then actively lying to them about who she was and where she came from, and left out how these things didn't fully resonate with her. They were beautiful, there was no doubt about that, but it didn't echo with Sam the same way it would for a native of this world. Sam was an outsider. "You can't get these wild anymore, they only grow here now." Jazz started telling Sam about something she missed while thinking. She forced a small smile while her stomach twisted up into knots. These beings were kinder than any human she had ever met. It made everything so much worse, and in a weird, extra way, half of her wished that she would wake back up in her own body, and half of her wished she could stay here forever. "These are my favorites." As if realizing Sam was a million miles away, Jazz gave her arm another gentle tug, jostling her out of her thoughts. Again, words were stolen from her. Sam gaped up at beautiful trees. Sitting in their garden bed near the back were a few metallic and crystalline trees taller than either of them. Beautiful, varying shades of metal twined together from white to black, and all kinds of brown made up the trunks. The leaves were colorful metals that were dependent on which tree she was looking at. Some were green and silver, and others were a wildfire that reminded Sam of autumn back on Earth. Completely and utterly gorgeous. On some of the trees, little crystal buds grew in various spots among the leaves in glowing colors. They weren't yet blooming like the flowers they had passed by, but something told Sam when they did, they would be indescribable. "Ol' Megs wiped them out in one of the bombings." Jazz's voice took on a somber note. "These are the last ones. We're hoping we can propagate them, especially after the war ends. This is also where our paints are made." He laughed. "What the twins used on you." "That's amazing." Sam wondered at them. How did they work? Could metal be organic-like in nature? She wanted to study it. She wanted to know how it grew, what it needed to survive. There was a thirst to find out more about this world she found herself in, a want for knowledge that Sam couldn't remember ever having in school. This world seemed so much more vibrant than Earth. They were quiet for a few moments, just basking in the radiant beauty around them. It was so peaceful and relaxing here, as close to organic and Earth as Sam could get. It felt almost like she was home. "There's one more thing I gotta show you in here." Jazz grinned up at Sam. "What's that?" "You'll see." Jazz turned and led her down another path. More plants filled the various garden beds, and Sam barely had enough time to look at a portion of them, much less all of them. She could see herself spending days in here, looking at all the exotic plants. It sounded wonderful. Abruptly, Jazz came to a stop. Sam stopped as well, and first looked towards him. This time, he didn't say anything, just nodded ahead of them as if to say, "Look." Following his gaze, Sam turned her head. How had she missed this? Encircled by the stone pathway was a massive fountain made of sleek, high-quality silver. A statue stood elegantly, partially submerged in whatever semi-clear liquid filled the fountain. A statue Sam recognized. It was Robo-Jesus. He stood mid-shin high in the water, one arm curled around a heavy-looking ledger, and the other raised to the sky. His face was still so kind, matching what she saw in the church. The liquid poured from the statue from various places, running over the entire pale-colored art piece. Who was this idol? Sam didn't feel comfortable asking, though. This seemed like something everyone knew and might potentially expose her. Regardless of not knowing who this was, the entire piece was well made and artistically elegant and beautiful. It commanded compassion and respect, radiating a gentle presence. All of that with a soft trickle of liquid resounding through the area brought the entire garden together. It was all bound together with a sense of absolute peace and calm. Benches were set up around the fountain, offering a place of reprieve among all of the alien beauty. Sam had no doubt she would come here to spend as much time as she could, reading, studying, maybe even drawing if the mood struck her. A lot of us like to come here after battles or when the struggle becomes too heavy. Jazz finally spoke, his voice low and gentle. It reminds us of what we're fighting for, what used to be, to come back and be our normal again. Sam wanted to cry. Her chest felt tight and wound up, but there were no tears, no burn, no liquid, no way to cry. Another reminder of where her humanity had gone. This was a place of hope for them, but it didn't feel like that for her. It was frustrating. "Hey, and this is the Prime's favorite place," Jazz joked suddenly, making Sam jump. "Jazz!" He wasn't bothered by her yell, instead bursting into hysterical laughter again. "Not funny!" "It's hilarious! That's his favorite bench, by the way." Jazz pointed at a specific bench, grinning widely. "You aren't serious." "I might be." "Stop it!" Now Sam was trying not to grin. His good-natured attitude was infectious. All right. Still laughing, Jazz lifted his hands in surrender, shaking a little in his armor. At least, Sam thought, she wasn't alone.